I see a live stream now, Chad.
Yeah, we're set.
Okay.
Hey, Madam Chair, we're live.
Okay, ready? All right, thanks, guys. Welcome, everybody, to the August 10th TAC meeting. The statement regarding virtual meetings was in the packet, and I really appreciate everybody still continuing to be willing to do this over the internet. That's very helpful as far as traveling goes. I don't think we need to say anything more about that. So we'll move on to the roll call and certification of a quorum. I think Phil's going to do that for us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We'll start with the town of Ashland. Nora Amos.
Here.
Thank you. I don't have a representative for Charles City County listed. Chesterfield, Barbara Smith. I do see Chessa Walker here. Is that correct?
I'm here.
Thank you. Goochland County, Tom Coleman.
Here.
And Mike Campbell.
Here.
Good morning. Hanover County, Joe Vadunas. Hello,
Here.
Joe.
Here.
And Mike Flagg.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning. Henrico County, Sharon Smidler.
Here.
Thank you. And Todd Yor? Not yet. Okay. New Kent, Chair Kelly LeDuc.
Good morning. I'm here.
Powhatan County, Brett Sardine. City of Richmond, Dorona Clark.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning. And Travis Bridewell.
Morning.
Right. Capital Region Airport Commission, John Rutledge. DRPT, Tiffany Dubinsky. I think she is on vacation this week. And Grant Sparks. We have anyone from DRPT? Okay. I saw Emily Del Ross.
Okay.
I would recommend him.
Yes, good morning.
I saw Emily Del Ross, and I see Adrian Torres. So is that correct, ladies?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Bowling balls down.
I see we have Sulab Ariel and Chet Parsons, both from Plan RVA. And
Here.
Ride Finders, I have John O'Keefe.
Here.
And do we have Vaughn Tisdale this morning?
Okay. I think I like that gold one. Either one of these. Which
I
one
think
of
we
these?
got
is
Nora.
different?
Mute your line.
These are colors, so maybe I should get that.
We need to mute Nora.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
Do we have Teresa Simmons? Okay. From VDOT, Liz McAdory
Morning here.
and Jacob Herman.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay. So we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Let's see. Do we have any amendments to the action meeting agenda? I don't think we do. Is that right, Chad?
No, we don't have anything from the staff side. No, ma'am.
Okay, sounds great. Then we'll move on to the approval of the July 7 minutes, and I'll have to abstain because I wasn't there. So we'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Liz, so moved.
Thanks, Liz. Do we have a second?
John O'Keefe, I'll second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Can we do a voice vote, Phil?
Chet, can you
Yes.
answer that?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, and I'll abstain, like I said. All right, thank you. Did we get any
Motion
open public comments?
We have not received any comments or requests to speak at the meeting this morning.
All right, great. Chairman's report, bear with me, haven't done this for a long time, so I'm gonna do my best. We'll move on to item 5, the TPO update, and I'll turn it over to Chet.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to, there's a number of things listed in the agenda. I'm not going to go over the current work efforts or the CTAC meeting report. They were linked and there was information there. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I did want to give an update on the federal recertification that is scheduled, and I received a draft but fairly complete agenda yesterday from Federal Highways. So I am going to distribute that to everybody on the TAC, as well as the policy board and CTAC, so that people can, I would ask for any support that anyone can give. It's going to be virtual, so we'll be distributing login information. There are, the days are broken up into different categories. So like, I'm looking at it right now, there's a 10:30 session on public transportation. So Adrian, Emily, I'd invite you as well as Julie to attend if possible, to help us work through the certification review. So the 24th of August is our day. And that's where it's the virtual site visit with the different topic categories for discussion with FHWA and FTA. And that starts at 9 a.m. and runs through essentially through 5. That's the Tuesday, the 24th. Wednesday, the 25th is the Tri-Cities review. And then on Wednesday, or Thursday, the 26th, from 1 to 5 is the public session, where we'll be providing, we're still working out the logistics, but it'll be a virtual session where members of the public can attend and provide feedback as well to our federal partners. And I believe, yes, 1 o'clock, there's an overview of the certification process that day. 1:30 is open public discussion and comments. We will we've been working with Federal Highways for the last few months to make sure that they have everything needed to perform the review to the best of their abilities. They've been doing a desktop review up until this point, so I don't expect any surprises, but obviously this is an important review. The last one was in 2017, and we certainly want to put our best foot forward. So I'd ask for, once you get a look at the agenda, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're available to attend at any point during those 2 days, that would be greatly appreciated as well. But I guess I'll probably be sending out more information over the next few weeks as we get closer to the 24th with meeting login information and other types of things. If there's no questions on that, item 5B is the Fall Transportation Forum. Mr. Williams, the chair of the policy board, has reserved space at Independence Golf Club in Powhatan. If you're new to the group, the typical process is that the Fall Transportation Forum is hosted by the jurisdiction in which the chair resides, the chair of the policy board. So the last forum we had was in Ashland. That's when Mr. Hodges was the chair. That was at Randolph-Macon. So this is going to be in Powhatan at Independence Golf Club. And I'm working with the chair to work through some of the possible topics, including federal reauthorization, possibly a fall line topic, something with CBTA and updates there, possibly getting speakers from the state like Nick Donahue. I think that was very well received at the policy board meeting last on the 5th. But you all are the subject matter experts, so I'd ask, we still have time, but I'd ask if there's anything that you think would be timely and a good topic for the forum, please communicate with staff and let us know. and we'll certainly do the legwork to set things up. But that is scheduled, I believe it's November 4th. It's whatever that first Thursday is, when the policy board would typically be held. And then Connect RVA 2045 update. We are working in overdrive right now. We have a consult team helping us in a three-pronged approach to get the draft finished, so that our public review can open with a draft for review next Monday. It will run for 30 days through September 15th. And we are working through multiple ways for people to learn about the process and get engaged. We have been looking at virtual options, in-person options, possibly a mix. We're looking at virtual office hours where people can sign up for particular times if they have direct questions or particular subjects about the plan that they want to learn more about. We're looking at kind of an open house-ish kind of format at some of the area of libraries where there's still space to spread out and people can attend in person if they want. And then we're looking at online comment forms and many of the things that we've been doing with the rest of the plan for the past 18 months. I have been able to start making my way around to different Board of Supervisors meetings. And thanks to those who I've already met with, there's a couple that I don't have times set up yet for. And if that's still a possibility, I'd be happy to do that. I was able to go out to New Kent last night and visit with the fine folks out there. And I think it was a good meeting. And basically I've just been talking about the long range plan and how people can get involved and get engaged and review the public draft. So my phone is ringing and I apologize. I think that's it for the TPO update anyway, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chet. Anybody have any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll flip the page, go to item 6. CRRSAA, that's a lot of letters, Highway Infrastructure Program Funds. Miles, take it away. And please tell us what that means.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair, members of TAC. So this is the Highway Infrastructure Program Funds we discussed at the last TAC meeting. So quick overview, CRRSAA is Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. So this was passed by Congress back in December of 2020, and it included $9.8 billion for the Highway Infrastructure Program. So once that goes through all the distribution formulas, the TPO share is a little over $7.6 million. So these funds are eligible for anything that we can use RSTP money on. And the key catch with these funds is that they have to be obligated by September of 2024 and fully expended by 2029 or they're lost. So this is a stimulus type funding. And there are some special authorizations as we discussed at last month's meeting. But we're coming to you today with the proposed allocations of these funds. As directed at the July meeting, we've worked to allocate the funding to existing RSTP and CMAQ projects only. And so the goal was either replacing existing allocations or reducing our future balance to complete some of the projects since we had a lot of unfunded balance because of the funding cuts this past year. So mostly this went to the RSTP or STBG, as we're now calling it, program, looking at projects or new phases of projects that we're starting either this fiscal year or next fiscal year. And then we also looked at a CMAQ project to advance the fall line. So these are the 4 projects that are proposed to receive the HIP funds. So the first one is UPC 113846. This is Early Settlers Road Sidewalk in Chesterfield. This project is starting this year and right-of-way is scheduled for FY23. So this is just replacing those right-of-way funds in FY23. The next project is 13551. This is Route 360 widening in Hanover. This is a smart scale project. It's pretty complicated on the funding side, but this is for construction money. Basically, it's just a straight swap. We're taking RSTP funds in FY23 and 24 and replacing it with these FY22 HIP funds. The next one's similar. This is 112042. It's Route 1 improvements in Ashland. Same thing. This is for construction, and we are proposing to replace the FY23 and FY24 RSTP allocations using these HIP funds. Both of the two projects that are getting ready for construction are actually scheduled for add later this fall. So this is really good timing. We can make sure that the funds are used. Won't run any risk of not obligating on time. The last project is 118153. This is the CMAQ project. This is the Brook Road and Hilliard Road Trail in Henrico County. You may recall we talked about this project a couple months back related to the surplus CMAQ funding that didn't have a match. We were able to provide previous CMAQ funding to cover PE, and we had some existing CMAQ allocations starting in FY24. But there was a gap to complete the project and fully advance the schedule. So what this does is this fully funds the project to the new schedule, which will allow it to start this year, as opposed to waiting to FY24 when it was initially scheduled. And it reduces our overall unfunded balance for the CMAQ program. So the outcomes, we're freeing up 4.9, almost $5 million of STVG funds in FY23 and FY24, which we'll be able to reallocate as part of this next round of allocations, which will start in October. And then we're reducing the CMAQ balance to complete by 2.7 million, which is about 27% of what was yet to be funded. So essentially those are future allocations that we don't need to worry about. And this will advance the Brook Road and Hilliard Road project fully and allow PE to start this year rather than waiting all the way to FY24. So this would be a big win for the fall line to get that segment started and completed. I believe 25 would be the new schedule for construction. So the action that we're requesting today is a recommendation on this resolution. It essentially says that whereas there was nearly $10 billion appropriated for the highway infrastructure program, whereas our share was the 7.6 million, the policy board allocates the funds to those 4 projects as we just went through, and then further resolve that the surplus STBG funding is returned to the balance entry so that we can reallocate it in the future. So that's the action we're requesting. And this is a recommendation to forward it to the policy board. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the details or how the projects were selected.
All right, thank you, Miles. Anybody have any questions?
Madam Chair, this is Diana.
Hi, Diana, go ahead.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you. Miles, is this the? I'm just a little confused. Sorry, because I missed last meeting. Are these the funds that were like ARPA funds that you want to spend now?
Yeah, so they're similar. This is the new COVID relief. So this was from this past year, but it's similar. So at the last meeting, what we discussed was several options on how to approach allocating these funds. And the option that we received from TAC was to use it on existing projects only. So that's how we went forward with the allocations.
Yeah, so on the existing projects only, but we didn't discuss what we would then do, what would happen to the freed up money, because would you use it on existing projects and not move them forward as we previously, like move them ahead as previously discussed? Or is this like projects that were in the latter years that just didn't have money on it?
So this is just a swapping for the most part of existing allocations. So the funds that are freed up, what we'll do is in the next round of allocations in FY23 to FY28, we'll have to redo the whole allocations plan as we do every year. So we'll accept new applications and then we'll look at fully funding projects that maybe the funding was a little off on the schedule. So it's going to be a mix of using this for new projects or for existing projects. It's basically just additional funds that are available to work with when we program the next round.
Yeah, but what happened to the round FY22 that wasn't funded?
Yeah, so since FY22, that has already wrapped up. So there's no new projects that were selected from that round.
So we forewent the process where everybody submitted stuff 22 to turn around and has the same thing potentially 23?
Correct. So
I'm not
So with
clear.
these, sure. So with these funds, the intent is that this is essentially offsetting the losses that we had. And what we've used the funds for is basically fully funding the projects that we already have. And that's because of the obligation deadline. Since they have to be obligated by FY24, they can only be used in phases that are starting essentially in this year or next fiscal year. So
No,
we had,
but when you say offset, FY22 was not funded because there was no money. So how is that not being a part of the offsetting?
So what we're doing with the offset is these funds are being returned to the balance entry. So now we have additional funding that's not allocated to any project. So when we do the FY23 to FY28 allocations, this funding will be available. Otherwise, we would have had to go back through and do a full application process again.
But why, when we had FY22 already cleared, that we don't have a full application process? But I understand, thank you.
I think we may have lost you, Dirona. I didn't hear you. Did you
Oh,
guys
no,
hear
I
that?
said thank you to
Oh, there she is.
Miles.
Okay.
Kelly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yep.
Yes, I just said thank you because it seems that we're foregoing the FY22 process to use and to put the money in the fund balance to use it for FY23, which again to me just leaves out the 22 application process that we all submitted, and leaves it for another open process for 23, which delays any new projects coming into the pipeline since 20 or maybe 21. I don't know, Miles would have to tell me on that one. Because in 21, I think it was only funding existing projects as well.
In 21, we did have some new projects selected. So that it was only last year that we didn't have anything new. And really the thought process on not going back and selecting from the new project list was that these projects have to, with that obligation deadline, we'd only be able to really fund one phase of any new project essentially. So timing wise, it didn't make a lot of sense. The other piece of that is when we go back through, we're going to have to prioritize again. So with the scoring, it made more sense to start with fresh scoring for a fresh set of projects and freed up funds rather than trying to use this limited pot on a handful of projects that we'd only be able to partially complete. So that was the direction that TAC gave at the last meeting. So that's why we moved forward with this approach.
Okay. Any other questions for Miles? That makes sense.
Yeah, Kelly, if I could.
Sure.
Yeah, I completely understand the lapsing, but there were, like, for instance, in Richmond, a study. I know that there was some other studies that were trying to get funded and were short projects that would have been completed in one funding swap. And so that's why some of the questions were asked, and some of them were part of the FY22 process that then, of course, now is just wiped out and, puts it out of reach for, needed studying that needs to happen now.
So, Dorana, just one more comment on that. That was an alternative that was prepared for TAC at the last meeting. So we had three options. There was the option that we've moved forward with, which was essentially existing projects only. There was one option that was existing projects plus studies and to have a limited study application period. And then the third was to open it up to any project, even outside of the TPO projects that needed additional funding from the localities. And this, again, was the option that was advanced by TAC. So that's why we've moved forward. But that was considered, the option of looking at studies in addition to the existing projects was something that was considered by TAC at the last meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I completely understand. And just to recap, as, you know, today we don't have Charles City at the table. And at times throughout the years, there have been localities that haven't been at the table. And there's a number of dollar amounts on existing projects for larger localities that are being funneled essentially all of the regional money because they were at the table at the right time. And we're now just, you know, filling all of those projects. So I did want to make that clear, and that there is need and opportunity for projects at the table in spite of our large funding commitments in the past for people that were at the table, those that weren't at the table. So thank you, Madam Chair. Miles.
This
Thanks,
is Sharon
Verona.
Smud.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon. Hi.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. This is Sharon with Henrico, and my understanding was the option we selected at TAC last time just presented the least risk because there were already existing projects and to meet the obligation deadline. So based on that, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the policy board to allocate the available HIP funds for the 4 projects listed on the agenda, and that the transfer of the STVG funding goes back to the balance entry.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Sharon made a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Joe Vidunas. I second.
Thank you, Joe. Should we do a voice roll call for this one?
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks, Chet. Could you take a roll, Phil?
Yes, I would. Yes, Madam Chair, I would love to. We'll start with the town of Ashland. Nora Amos.
First, I'd just like to thank Tyrona for her comments and her input. I appreciate that, but aye.
You. Chesterfield, I see Barbara Smith has joined us.
Aye.
Hugeland, Tom Coleman.
Aye.
Hanover, Joe Vidunas.
Aye.
Henrico, Sharon Smidler.
Aye.
New Kent, Kelly LeDuc.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dermona Clark.
No.
GRTC, Adrian Torres.
Aye.
RVA, Chet Parsons.
Aye.
Ride Finders, John O'Keefe.
Aye.
VDOT, Liz McAdory.
Aye.
Have 10 ayes and 1 nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Phil. Whenever you're ready, Miles, for item 7, TA set aside.
Sure, thank you again. So this next item is the TA set aside endorsement. So as just a quick overview, TA set aside is funding for what's defined as transportation alternatives, which primarily means active transportation bike ped projects. All applications within the MPO study area require the endorsement of the MPO. And at the July TAC meeting, we requested all of the sponsors to submit the details so we could include your projects in the resolution. So we received requests from 4 localities, 5 projects from Chesterfield, 1 from Hanover, 4 from Henrico, and 11 from the city of Richmond. I haven't included the full list of projects and all of the descriptions in the PowerPoint today, but they are all in your staff report. So there's just a brief overview of each of the projects in there. What we're requesting today is the recommendation on this resolution, which basically says, whereas we're required to endorse the applications that are in the MPO area, whereas we've received that full list of projects, therefore resolved that we endorse these projects as applications. This is just an endorsement to move forward with the application process. This doesn't guarantee funding or anything on that end. It's just to advance it through the evaluation process. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Miles. Any questions? Okay, ready for a motion if someone would like to make one.
I'll make a motion that we recommend endorsement of the TAP projects.
Thank you,
Sec-
Barb. That was Darono at the second?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you both, ladies. Have a motion from Barb Smith and a second from Dairona Clark for approval, and we should probably do a roll call on this one too.
Ready for that? We'll begin with Town of Ashland, Nora Amos.
Aye.
Chesterfield, Barbara Smith.
Aye.
Hugeland, Tom Coleman.
Aye.
Hanover, Joe Vadunas.
Aye.
Henrico, Sharon Smidler.
Aye.
New Kent, Kelly Leduc.
Aye.
City of Richmond, Dairona Clark.
Aye.
DRTC, Adrian Torres.
Aye.
Plan RVA, Chet Parsons.
Aye.
Ride Finders, John O'Keefe. Is that an aye?
Yes.
Thank you. And VDOT, Liz McAdory.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Miles, you're up again whenever you're ready.
So this is the last item I have for you today, and this is not an action item. This is just a reminder. So this is related to coordination for the new RSTP CMAQ process. So as you all know, we've been working on the RSTP CMAQ guidelines, updating those over the past year. The policy board did adopt those new guidelines at tax recommendation earlier this summer. And one of the changes that's in those guidelines is that the project sponsors are required to coordinate with VDOT on estimates and schedules for any project that's going to lead to construction before submitting the application. So the purpose of this is kind of twofold. The first is to basically ensure that if it's going to be a VDOT administered project, that we're funding it to the right schedule and the right estimate. We've had in the past occasions where we've funded a project based on the sponsor's estimate, and then VDOT came back and said, we need more money, or the schedule's off for how we're going to administer this project. So we want to make sure anything that's going to be VDOT administered, we're getting it right the first time. The second part is really just to assess the risk, essentially. So if we have a project that's intended to be locally administered, the application doesn't need to match the VDOT estimate, but we want to know what VDOT's thoughts on that. We've been doing this. We've been doing it after we received your applications in the past, but this allows you to discuss things on the front end directly between the sponsor and VDOT. So the MPO doesn't need to be in the middle, allows you a little bit more flexibility there as well. So the process is really straightforward. Essentially, you need to email the TPO, so me, a brief description of your project, the location, and which program you intend to apply for. We'll validate and essentially make sure that the project would be eligible for that program. So making sure it's on the right functional class of road, making sure it's in the right locality, that project type's eligible. And then we'll email you back and CC the Richmond district staff on it. And then you can begin the coordination. And I believe Liz will be the point of contact at the district moving forward from there. But basically you'll coordinate with the district, and then they'll provide you at the end of it a validation memo, which is kind of like what you get from Smart Scale, that here's the recommended cost and schedule for the project. So the timeline for this coordination is available year round. So you can work with VDOT whenever on projects, but they have the most time set aside specifically for our programs between July and October. So the October period will be the application this year. I think it's October 4th to October 29th. That's 4 weeks. That's the month of October. And validation does take a while. So it can take 3 weeks is what we need to set aside for validation. So we're highly encouraging, and I'll say that again, highly encouraging sponsors to start this process early and not wait till the very end. The earlier you get it in, the less work there'll be in September and October for the TPO and for VDOT staff. But
Miles,
yes.
This is Liz. I just wanted to chime in real quick if I could. 3 weeks is the shortest amount of time. Not our preferred.
So again, highly encouraged as soon as you can get those requests in so we can start this process. And we'll accept on the TPO side your requests through September 29th. Basically, that gives us a week to turn it around and get it to VDOT, and then 3 weeks still before the end of the application period. So as soon as you're ready, please go ahead and start submitting projects my way so I can get you started on the validation process. And again, this is supposed to be cooperative. It's coordinating. The goal is just to get the best estimates and the best assessment of the projects as possible. The other thing, we want to take the opportunity to remind you that there are additional coordination options that are available. So VDOT doesn't just have to do the cost and schedule validation. The other options, they're outlined in the coordination memo that was attached to the staff report, but refining a project concept. So if you have something, say in a comp plan that is high level, planning level, and you want to really get it down to something that's more of an application ready project, they can help you with that. Studies of transportation issues or corridors, so arterial management, STAR studies, safety, operational studies. These are all things that VDOT can help with as well. These take more time. Definitely not going to get those completed in 3 weeks. I think it's at least 6 weeks for the concept and a year for the studies. But these are other opportunities that we haven't really had, at least as formally in the past. So this is something that we're trying to also encourage you to work with VDOT on as you're refining projects. If you need any extra help, it's available as a resource. So again, this is just a reminder of the requirements of the new process. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, because I know this is a big change.
Thanks, Miles. I actually have a question maybe for Chet. Where's the process at as far as getting the rurals completely within the MPO boundary?
That is approved and it takes effect on October 15th.
Awesome. Okay.
So in the middle of the application window.
Oh, great. So if we have something in mind for an area that may not yet be in the MPO, would you recommend going forward with at least the validation process?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Because I know personally there's some stuff here. Okay. I'm just going to take a note before I move on. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Diana.
Thank you. Chet, on that note with the rural inclusion in the MPO boundary, can you bring back to us any impact that has on any of the transit funding for them? If it has any impact at all? I know we've asked that question in regard to like 5311 money and any other. I know it impacted potentially the planning dollars that came to the MPO, but I wasn't sure, the TPO rather, but I wasn't sure the impact on the $5311. And I know Tiffany, I don't know if anybody's from DRPT on today.
Sure, I can work with both Adrian, Emily, and Tiffany / Jennifer DeBrule and get an answer back to you. Good question.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, guys. Any other questions?
I was just going to say this is the first round of the news cycle, and I haven't talked to Miles about this, but it'd be nice if I think we should probably be putting a calendar together, whether that lives on the Plan RVA calendar on the website or somewhere else. Just something that's more accessible to everybody here to make sure all of the deadlines are understood. Once we figure out the best way to do that, we can distribute it to everybody.
That'd be great. Thanks, Chet. Okay. No other questions. We can move on to item 9. And I don't think anyone from DRPT is on, so we'll skip to GRTC. Adrian, did you have anything?
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry, it's blinding. I switched on the camera. Just a few updates that are very irrelevant. We did kick off the microtransit study. So a lot of the jurisdictions will be reaching out to you guys to begin some coordination, to begin to look at what you guys currently offer, as well as opportunities for different transportation modes over the next few months. We also kicked off our regional public transportation plan study last week as well. So we will also be doing some coordination through the MPO and the public transportation working group the next few months as well. So look for invites for that. And then once again, this always happens the week before the board meeting. We have our board meeting on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Any questions for GRTC? Okay, if not, we'll move on to Mr. O'Keefe with Ride Finders.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ride Finders promoted the City of Richmond survey seeking input on the transportation system in Richmond, as well as the Richmond Department of Public Works online survey seeking feedback on ways to improve bike infrastructure in the City of Richmond. We also communicated VDOT Richmond's office survey seeking feedback for those who travel the Brook Road and East Perham corridor in Henrico County. We promoted DRPT's transportation corridor study. We continue to promote it's a green thing, clean air campaign. We are continuing to see band pools come back on the road. We did have 2 of them start back on the road last month, so that is a good sign. And I'm hearing that we're going to continue to kind of see these come back online, but with the Delta variant, that could throw a wrench into some things, unfortunately. Ride Finders did present our emergency ride home program to the Alamo area MPO in San Antonio, Texas on July 27th. We're also working with the Walmart Distribution Center in Prince George to discuss transporting of their employees via shuttle from the Petersburg Area Transit Center to the Walmart Distribution Center. And last but not least, we did provide VCU with Ride Finders information that can be placed in their new alternative transportation hub for their students, faculty, and staff. And with that, ma'am, that's all that I have for Ride Finders, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody may have.
Thanks, John. That's all exciting stuff. Any questions for John? All right. And VDOT, Liz, you got an update for us?
Yeah, of course. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I've always got something to say. Okay, so real quick, the CTV meetings for July, the VDOT update that Chet posts on the web will have links to all the presentations, the ones that were noteworthy from a VDOT perspective. There's was one on year-end program review, where we're looking at project development and delivery, kind of the dashboard metrics summary. Overhead signage messaging, just kind of where we're going with that. Interstate Operations and Enhancement Program, which I think you are all familiar with. That's basically the bill. So it's the result of the bill for the interstate funding that was passed last assembly. And then federal reauthorization and infrastructure update. There were no action items that actually were within the RRTPO study area. Most of them were out west. There is no August meeting, but there's going to be the workshop and the action meeting in September. Workshop is September 14th at 10 a.m. Action meeting September 15th at 9 a.m. Currently on the CTV website, last time I checked, this was still listed for being at the auditorium. We all know Delta variant going on. I'm not sure if that will be changed back to virtual or not. If it is, and I find out before you guys do, I'll let you know. One important thing, I know a lot of the localities here do locally administer their own projects. So you probably are aware of this, but if not, there's a local programs workshop that our local assistance division puts on annually. This year, it is October 26th, and it's going to be in Norfolk. There's my update has a link to the LAD website if you want to register or just find out more information about it. Also, most of you were at the CBTA TAC meeting yesterday, so you're aware of this effort. Per CBTA request, VDOT's going through the fall line trails segments and subsegments, trying to identify what is funded, what actually has commitments. We're interested in what's going to be funded, what we think is going to be funded. But Mark gave a presentation kind of going through that, and we're awaiting TAC member input. Well, actually, you guys are waiting for me to get you the presentation and spreadsheet, and then we'll be awaiting CVTA TAC input so we can finalize the list. And just to reiterate, for those of you that were there yesterday and they're impacted by the fall line trail, it's totally a draft list. And it's the purpose of this is to give you guys something to look at and to react to, because we know there's going to be probably significant edits. So just wanted to remind you of that. There is a willingness to post or willingness to hold a public hearing. And again, what that is, we have a project where we're intending to abandon frontage road in Henrico County. Sorry, excuse me. And the willingness to hold a public meeting means we're posting that we're going to do it. And if there are inquiries of people who want to have a public hearing, then we would have one. And that's my update.
Thank you, Liz. You said that there was something scheduled for the 14th at 10 a.m. That's an hour after our TAC meeting. What was that again?
That's the CTB monthly meeting. It's their workshop meeting.
Okay, so
And if so, I mean, assuming I don't think most of us would go in person anyway, but they do broadcast that via YouTube, and it is recorded
Okay.
if we miss it.
okay, great. So we don't need to change our meeting. Okay.
I mean, no, I don't think so. We haven't in the past.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Liz. Any questions for Liz? Okay. Page 24, there was some future meeting topics. Anything to add to that, Chet?
Yeah, I had one item, and especially
Okay.
since she's not here, I'm going to volunteer Tiffany. We had a discussion at some point about an update on the DRPT transit modernization and equity study. And I think we were looking at it too early. So this might be a good time over the next few months to have that added to an agenda as well.
Okay.
But I'll follow up with DRPT to get more details on when the best time would be.
Sounds good. Okay. Any TAC member comments? Okay, hearing none, then our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 14th of September, and I'm assuming at 9 a.m. and probably still virtual, I would think.
Yes, and one of the things to note about that day is that's the day before the public review period for the long range plan ends, and we're going to be planning on providing a full update to the TAC on the current state of the draft LRTP, because this will be the last TAC meeting before the adoption date, crossing our fingers, of October 4th.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank